gallery. The opening karakia will be read today by Kai Tumaha. Yes.
Okay, whakatakatāhau ki uru, whakatakatāhau ki tama. Kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā tata ki tā. Hiaki ana Jaskura, he tio, he hoka, he hauhu, ti e mario.
Thank you. Item 2, apologies. Apologies received today from Her Worship the Mayor. Someone to move that, any other apologies? No, everyone's here. Someone to move that the apologies be accepted. Councillor Medina, seconded. Councillor Martin. Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Any changes to the interest register? No, no changes made. Thank you. Item 4, urgent items not on the agenda. There are no items, urgent items. So we'll go straight into the public forum where we have 2 people presenting today. First is Paul Sutton from Haast, who is joining us on the telephone. So this is going to be, we'll just see how it goes. He's presenting the petition for the exemption of chlorination to the Haast water supply, which we've all received yesterday on an email. And I've got a copy here if anyone needs it. We'll just dial in Paul.
To retrieve a message.
Okay, we can't seem to go to Paul. Do you want to try and get hold of him? And we'll move on to our second presentation, which is today Martin O'Brien, another petition for the widening of the Waitaha Road.
Yes, hello, it's Paul Sutton, Paul Elwell Sutton here.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Martin. We'll take Paul. We've got Paul online. You there, Paul?
Yeah, hello, yes, I was informed that by Tom that he was going to call me at 5 to 1, but that didn't happen. So I proceeded with entering the meeting with the information, the numbers that he provided to me.
Wonderful, thank you. Good to have you online. You've got 5 minutes. We've got the petition here. We've received that. And you've got 5 minutes to speak to us, and then we'll have 5 minutes for questions from the members around the table.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Paul Elwell Sutton. I'm a resident and ratepayer of Haast Township, and the purpose of my presentation is to persuade the District Council to apply for a Water Services Act, sections 57, 58 and 58A, exemptions for a residual disinfection of our water supply, and that namely means the chlorination, to discontinue the chlorination. Now, the reasons behind that are, first of all, that in November, I think it was November 2023, chlorination was introduced to our water supply without any warning or consultation, which we felt was most undemocratic, to say the least. And I must say that I must add that I'm making this presentation on behalf of numerous members of the Haast community. So the second point is that the quality of our water supply over some years, quite a few years, as measured by the District Council, has always come up with extremely high quality. And in fact, people used to come from outside Haast, elsewhere in South Island or in the West Coast and Otago, to pick up water in bottles to take home because the water was so damn good. Now, there are a number of issues around the chlorination of drinking water or town water supplies. First of all, there are scientific studies pointing to the corrosive effect of chlorine on iron and copper plumbing, in other words, pipes and fixtures, which together with the high water pressure we have in Haast has led to a spate of water leaks since the chlorination was started. And we didn't used to have a leaky system. I think the council will have records of the leaks reported in the Haast water reticulation. So the reason behind the need for what is called residual chlorination is to make up for or correct any contaminations that might happen in the water through the leaky reticulation, especially if the water pressure drops. So here we have a situation where chlorine is potentially, at least, causing the leaks, which require more chlorination, especially with the high pressure we have. And we contest, we maintain that if we discontinue the chlorine and fix the leaks, we won't have any more problems and we won't need any more residual disinfection. The other thing is there are certain health issues reported around the formation of organochlorines when water is chlorinated, and if there are any harmless but organic compounds in the water, and organochlorines do have some toxic health effects. So turning now to the funding of the application for an exemption, or application to the Water Services Authority, which is Taumata Arowai. We understand that the Haast community receives an annual grant from the District Council for community purposes, and we wonder why or whether some of that or all of it could be used to fund the application, which I understand may be anything between $6,000 and $10,000, depending on the complexity of preparing a water safety plan. And there's also the issue that the Water Services Authority levies the Westland District Council around about $37,000 per annum. Can any of that be used by the Water Services Authority towards funding our application? And since we have a template from the Selwyn District Council, which enabled the exemption of the Rakaia Hut settlement from requiring residual disinfection, we suggest that that template could help the council reduce the cost of preparing a water safety plan and the application fee. It may even be fiscally neutral. So I think, the other thing was regarding our petition from 2024. There has been a comment that not all the people listed on that petition were Haast residents. I would point out that we have in the summer, we have a lot of transient employees, especially in the hospitality sector, and a lot of these people who listed their residence as being other than Haast may well have been here for work just for the summer. Okay, that just about wraps it up. So if anybody's got any questions, I'm ready to try and answer them.
Wonderful, thank you, Paul. Any questions from the members of the table? Councillor Maitland.
Thank you for your presentation, Paul. I think it's great. I was reading the alternative solutions from the Edify this morning, and I see they've updated it to state that endpoint treatment must be in place for all end users requiring a UV treatment plant, which sort of flies in the face at the start of that statement, which said that they wanted alternative solutions to be cost effective and cheaper. And I think for each resident to have a UV plant on their property, sort of defies that logic. The other thing is, I can't see the sense in it, because how can it be sort of, maintained by the authorities to check that it's up to standard if it's in a private residence? I think, from my point of view, I'd like to see council look into this and approach Tamata Atify to look at similar reasons why Haas can't do it the same as the Selwyn Huts did. Because in the end of the day, there's been no history of any contamination really in the Haas water supply. And I think it's a bit of an indictment on New Zealand's standing, that we have to clean up just about every water supply in the country. And I think Haas should be able to stand out as a sort of the standard for the rest of New Zealand to measure up to. And so, I'd like to thank you for your presentation, and hopefully council will look into this a bit further.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Thank you very much. I would point out that our water supply has been UV treated at the pumping station for some years now, and as for the surrounding terrain, the vast majority of it is national park or conservation land. So the chances of pollution, especially upstream of the bore, which is over 11 meters deep and in the banks of the Haas River, the chances of pollution are minute, probably nil. That's all.
Through the chair, the last time that we discussed this, and some of us supported the Haas view on it, we were told that it wasn't possible because of the prohibitive cost from Tamata Atify, and also because the petition that was submitted supposedly had was overwhelming from people from outside of the Haas district. And I don't know whether or not that was true or not. I missed the first part of your discussion. Sorry, I was out down the road, so you may have addressed that. But my view is that it's similar to Councillor Maitland. I believe that Haas residents should have the right to have a say in the delivery of their water, and that we should be backing them in that as the council. And if Haas can't do it, for goodness sake, who can? Haas is the water out there. It's coming from deeply within below the Haas River. There should be, of course, no reason or no impediments, and we certainly shouldn't be an impediment for them.
Councillor Kinsey.
I'd just like to thank Paul for bringing his petition to the council. I think it's great that so many people have engaged with him and got behind him. I think the council does need to understand the risks and that they're appropriately managed when that decision comes from discussion. And that we're not, as a council, exposing any residents to potential harm or future liability to the council and the wider ratepayers, is my view on it. But there are 8 other people here, and the mayor will also serve you down the line as well.
Councillor Kinsey. Councillor Walker.
Question, Paul. Is there appetite within your community for some sort of compromise, where maybe there was one centralized point where you could collect in bottles chlorinated-free water, but we still delivered chlorinated water to the households?
No, we don't have any centralized point where we can pick up water, collect water that hasn't been chlorinated, and we'd have to go to the river itself and help ourselves. But yeah, we've been asking somebody from the council to come down and meet us at a community meeting for about, ever since the end of 2023. And so far, nobody's been willing to come down and discuss the matter with us.
But you would be open to that as a possible compromise, having one collection point where you could fill bottles as opposed to delivering it to every household?
I can't speak for everybody, so it's something that the council would have to present at a meeting, at a community meeting.
Okay.
I'll take it as done with questions. From the conversation here today, it looks to me like we need to get the staff to do some work on this and come back with a paper outlining the options. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy that we provide a small paper. I think Councillor Mackenzie's point is really valid, that there are lots of options, but as long as we don't have unintended consequences and we all understand the risk and implications, then you can make a fully informed decision. I would say though that the work program is fairly tight, so I'd rather go and just see where we can put this through. And taking your point about a community meeting, more than happy that once we've got a paper prepared for council to consider, more than happy that I would go with the relevant staff and have a community meeting and do that. Because I think the more we have that discussion at a community level, the better the understanding. So happy to take that on board. Thank you.
Thanks, Barb. I think that's a great way forward. Paul, obviously we can't make a decision here and now today, but getting a paper put together by staff and having that community meeting with your community, I think is a good way forward.
I agree, absolutely.
Wonderful. So just we acknowledge the receipt of your petition, and we've discussed a way forward, which we're all happy with here. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll be in touch.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to make my presentation on behalf of the Haas community.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right, moving on to our second presentation in the public forum, the petition for the full widening of the Waitaha Road, Mr. Martin O'Brien. Thank you. 5 minutes to speak to us and then 5 minutes for questions and answers.
Okay, Martin O'Brien, I've been farming in the Waitaha Valley for 53 years on the same farm. So we've seen massive changes during that time. Cow count numbers have gone up from approximately 200, which was the biggest herd in the valley at that time, to now there are very few farms without 200. So it's a massive change as it's gone along. The truck movements in and out of the valley are getting bigger by the day almost, and more of them. There's approximately 20 tanker movements in the valley, farm to farm and entering into the valley per night, which is substantial. Somewhere here, the video is there, we'll get to that in a minute. I've never done this before, which is probably blatantly obvious, but as far as I can see, we have the opportunity now to do something, because if the new power project goes into the Waitaha, which is the one they're talking about putting in 6 bypasses, bypasses. To my mind, that's 3, because it'll be 2, 2 and 2 down the valley. There's the valley itself, the road is only 3.4 meters wide. In the narrows, they widened the first bit, that's 6 meters for the first 2 Ks. After that, it reduced down. The idea was originally they were going to go with a half a K every year until they got right at the top. That stopped. I don't know why it stopped, but it stopped. So now we've got a very good start to the valley for 2 kilometres, and then 9 kilometres of potentially a very dangerous road. when you're coming down the road now, if there's a truck coming the other way, they will not get off the tar seal, they can't. It's too soft. If they leave the seal, and I gave some pictures in here somewhere of a truck that did leave the road. It wasn't an oncoming vehicle, but he had an accident. As soon as he left the tar seal, he was in big trouble, and they had to bring an extra vehicle to get him back out. I myself have pulled on about 3 different trailers at various times with a number of tractors. And there's lots of history in the valley of people helping other people out because they've just lost it and gone into the left. My submission is that we have 2 opportunities to this. One now, if they go ahead with this project. The second one, God help us, will be when there's a serious accident or even worse, someone gets killed. Because when you're going up that valley, if you don't realise there's a truck coming, you pull off. The truck will not pull off, he can't. So he's taking out all of the tar seal. If we move into the grass, someone who's a bit of inexperienced there gets stuck in the grass, feels it starting to sink in, there's a hard right trying to come out, bounces back onto the road and straight under a truck. And that is a definite possibility of what could happen. Is there any chance we could crank that video away? Okay, this is just my vehicle. I parked as far over as I could get before I got stuck. That's where a truck got stuck just the other day. And I was part of the whole thing of getting that one out. It was a Transwest truck. Transwest have submitted a letter of application, a letter of support, and along with 7 others, as to what's happening. As you can see here, that tractor goes past that vehicle. If he didn't slow down and take his time, I'd be losing my windmill for sure. On he goes. That area there, as you can see, when the tractor is moving away, there is no other room. He's on the tar seal, that's it. We're not talking about redoing the tar seal. We're just talking about a gravel strip on either side of it. The worst bit is from the old Waitaha School for the next 3 kilometres up to the next corner. That is the very worst bit. Some of that area there, if you take more than 2 steps off the road in the rain, you'll go over the top of your gumboots. It's as simple as that. Here's another vehicle just going past in the same spot. The driver had to really take it easy. If he'd gone any further off, he would have done it. Once again, more vehicles going past. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is there ain't a lot of room. Ain't a lot of room at all. And if someone gets it wrong, there's plenty of marks on that road when you're going up there as to where various cars, vehicles, trucks, everything have gone off at various times. And you can see here with one car driving past another, you have to slow down. If you don't slow down, you're going to have a problem. So all we would really like to do is take a strip out on both sides of the road between the parking bays if the Electronet are going to do that. Between the parking bays and put some gravel. So, okay, there's the major turnout. I'm presuming Electronet will be sealing those, but if we harden up the gravel edges on both sides, I think that would work very well. We put a petition out. It wasn't out for that long. We got 340 signatures off it. We also approached mainly the trucking firms and said, what's the go? Would you be prepared? And all of them submitted letters, no problem at all. Most of their drivers signed the petition. So they know damn well what they're dealing with. Now, question mark for the council is, can we afford not to do it? I know it's a large expense. I fully realise that's why we're not sending tar seal. Tar seal would be outrageously expensive. But with this, I believe we have the opportunity, but just by doing the gravel, some of the road, there's about 3 kilometres of it are very bad. The rest of it's not bad at all. And some of it, all of it needs a grass skimmed off and a bit of fines put over it. So it's not redo the whole thing, it's redo a bit of it. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much me.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for your presentation. Any questions around the table? Councillor Mayne, sorry.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation. I was just wondering, the compacted gravels under the tar seal at the moment, do they extend any further under the grass on either side of the road when the road was first put in?
In some places it does, but in most places it doesn't. The road was an original gravel road, and it was re-tar sealed before 53 years ago, and it has been recovered, but it's never been extended in any way. It's still the original road. So the original gravel road, and they just tar sealed over the top. So that's the reason it's so narrow.
Yeah, I'll just ask Bill if we do what they said here and just gravel the edge full of break out the tar seal, is there a problem there? Or please, Bill?
Through the chair, we'd have to look at that. We also need to look at what the power company's proposing in their extension to their pull-off base to see what, if anything would be done in between, but I know it'd be pretty extensive.
Do you think, are you talking dig out half a metre, or how much would that be?
The damage to the side of the tar seal, I agree, like vehicles coming in sideways can damage it. It's happening now. People, you've got to leave, don't, even right now. Those videos I had on there of two ordinary cars cannot both fit on the tar seal. They have, well, the rule up there at the moment is everyone puts the wheel in the grass and sneak past each other. Or you go on the nearest gateway.
It's very clear how narrow the road is from those photos and videos. Councillor Gillette.
Oh, yes, through the chair. I'm just curious, is there a minimum standard for these rural roads to be deemed public access? I'm just looking at that road. I'm wondering if there is a minimum width requirement in place, or is it just historical? How does it operate?
Through the chair, would just be a standard single lane.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to clarify whether the road was compliant with any standard and whether we're in breach. So this is something that would go beyond our liability, I guess.
Yeah, through the chair, yes, that's correct. As I said, once we can find out exactly what the power company's proposing for that project up there, we can look at it in between. It would have to go into the LTP project because there's no money for it set aside at the moment, but we could definitely look at it going forward.
No other questions? No, thank you, Martin. I think we need to pass this on to the CE to look into, and I think as Earl just said, this is much bigger than us making a decision today to widen the road. It will have to be a project that's properly scoped, work out what the electorate are doing in terms of the Waitaha project and the road, go away and price that, put it into the LTP, which then goes out for consultation, and it has other approvals through the transportation plan with NZTA and all sorts of other things. It's not an easy fix from our side.
I think, look, it is really narrow, and thank you for the video, because I think it was very good photography of what the end involved. We do have some constraints on us, but I don't think that will stop us from at least having a scope of looking at movies and doing that in English, because I think we need to be looking at it and be able to come back to the council with now. I'm just aware of the fact, as Bill said, that we do have the LTP, that's really fun, but if we think maybe a bit more laterally about if we can get some colleagues around the table from other agencies about how we could support doing this, we might be able to come up with a better conclusion. So happy to come back with a paper that gives us a bit more of a view of that once we've framed it up, and then we'll move on a bit more. If we have to push it into the LTP, we might, but let's have a look at our opportunities.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Good way forward on that, and I think key, as with the previous, keeping the community involved in those conversations along the way. I appreciate that. Thank
You're
you.
happy, we'll work.
Yeah, well, I've been volunteered.
Told.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're keen to get on board with
Yeah.
that too, thanks.
All right, we'll include, we'll have everybody around the table.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Martin, and I just acknowledge we received your petition here, and thank you for the time you've gone into putting the videos together and all the letters and supporting documents, so acknowledge the receipt of that too, thank you.
I think there was one more letter that arrived after I'd submitted those ones.
I reckon happy to add that into this file. Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right, moving on, council meeting minutes of the 18th of December 2025, page 6 on your agenda. Someone to move and second that we resolve that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 18th of December 2025 are confirmed as true and correct record of the meeting. Councillor Maitland, seconded Councillor Manera, thank you. And I approve my digital signature be added to those minutes, ordinary council meeting minutes of the 18th of December 2025. Item 7 on the agenda, page 16, the action list. Barb, to speak to the action list.
The action list remarkably are all future focus. There's nothing outstanding on the action list, but happy if anybody wanted to raise anything, they're all due for February or March, which is reassuring or not.
Okay, any questions around the table on any of the action matters on the action list? No questions? Someone to move and second that the updated action list from the chief executive be received and those items completed be removed. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Munns, Councillor Manera, thank you. Item 8, presentations, no presentations today. Moving on to number 9, page 19 on your agenda, the CE's quarterly report.
So, thank you. I've asked for the SLT to come to be present for this item. I didn't intend to talk through a waiting meeting, and I thought that it's probably more useful to hear from you folk if there were areas of interest or items that you wanted to have a bit more discussion, rather than me go through and go over them again. I think that the format is interesting. It does give a bit of a roundup or an overview of some of the work that's been completed over the period of time, but I do wonder whether or not it's actually meeting the needs of folk around the table. So again, as we've been doing with quite a few of our reports, refreshing and refining them to be more useful, really happy for feedback. If you think there's something you can do differently, or you'd like to see more of something, then really happy for that feedback to come. Happy for that just to come through, to me directly if you've had chance to. So I'm happy to open it through the chair, to the floor for questions or not.
Any questions about any items in this area?
Through the chair, 5.1, there's a reference to of human resources. So the HR report, it doesn't actually say how many staff do we have. And I'd like to thank you for that, please. And I'd like to see it broken down. There was a media report about all West Coast councils and staffing numbers, and Westland participate in that. So it would be good to see a breakdown of what are what's the current staffing numbers, what's been the movement in those numbers over the past 5 years. Recognising that the change process that the CE has put in place has changed some of things in new roles. And we hold that this was within the same FTE numbers that we had previously. But let's see that. Let's see that number, but in a spreadsheet or something, because it's hard to judge at the moment because of the change roles, because of the change titles.
Through the chair, I think you've got several questions there that I'm not quite sure exactly what you're trying to achieve in terms of what's your overall aim of what you're looking for. If you're looking for the numbers of staff, we have around approximately 90 staff spread across the council. They're not, we have some vacancies. I think you referred to the fact that we didn't participate in the recent media coverage of staffing because, as per usual, the request was made, but it was made over, I think, almost the 5-year period that you've referred to. And the amount of time it would take for us to gather that information from the systems we had was disproportionate for us without offering to seek a charge for that, which I think we did, which was declined. So happy to have a look at those figures for you, but I would say that may take quite a bit of resource to do that, so I'd rather come back. But we've got around 90 staff currently. I think it referred to the fact that the recent transformation program, I made a commitment that it would be within budget and within FTE. It currently is within both of those things going forward for our forecast. I don't expect that to change. I think you referred to movement of staff, vacancies, etc. I think if we're looking at a human resources report, I would like to do something that's a little bit more structured than just do metrics or a spreadsheet, but I'd be keen to see what it is you would be looking to see that we can reflect for you.
So, yeah, so through the chair, firstly on the regular request of the official information, that is it. It was, although it may have been an effort to have got the information from other councils. Well, the other councils on the West Coast that were approached participated. Westland didn't.
And I don't have access to their systems, and neither do I wish to have access to their system. But it was my view as a CE that the resource will not be well versed to be placed into that, to take that amount of time without being reconversed through. So I think that's probably a conversation that's best had not at this meeting, but happy to have it if you would.
Yes, although I was raising that, I was raising the question about what are the what's the current state of the employment here, and those numbers you've given. Like what's the breakdown? I know that there was some that were brought back in house for etc. in the museum. So that's had an influence as well, but we don't have great visibility of what is the breakdown of staffing. And I would like to see it go back about 5 years, because in that time, we as the council set up a cap on a staffing cap of new positions, and so that seems to be rather fluid in the past few years, and so we've had it before, and it would have been all I'm asking for is clarity and a clear report that shows what the staffing is now, what it was 5 years ago, and metrics are important. Those figures tell a lot.
And clearly you haven't had them to date, so for the last 5 years you've not been aware of the staffing movements. Is that what you're saying?
No. Well, it hasn't been easy to get those figures from the previous
Well, then we
regime.
will endeavour to provide something that you can have a look at. More than happy to do that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McKenzie.
I think the most important metric on section 5 is missing is the full-time equivalent. So that should be added in for next time.
We had that conversation ourselves about the parties that do the breakdown for these, and you can see, because we do have both here, so we do have a variety.
And it's just important to sort of rationalise it with other councils, because they all essentially use FTEs.
And sometimes it's quite hard when you do through the chair, it's quite hard to do the comparisons too, depending on what they allocate to what particular areas. So happy that we have a view of the staffing levels that we And acknowledging that we do have, you know, the pool, we have the museum, as well. So, and we also have quite a strong, which I found not surprising, but it was really heartening to see the amount of volunteers we have here. I know there's a lot of volunteers who do a lot of work here, particularly in the museum. So I think that's quite a useful metric as well to consider.
Something else, something else.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at the HR report, I'm quite happy to look at an HR report goes, and it's something that actually in terms of our risk and assurance, that we had quite a regular reporting through that as well, but that doesn't seem to have been as regular as previously.
Through the chair. Going historically and following, because we've got a new triennium, new projects. Going back historically, it's a different era. So I think if we start from last year, at least going forward, it gives us a benchmark. So
Definitely with the transformation, you need to see what the structure was, at least then.
Thanks, councillor Martin.
So the chair, the CCOs are not included in Western District Council staffing numbers? No.
No, thanks.
Councillor Nathan.
Yeah, through the chair, there was recently a letter in the media for a ratepayer asking about official information requests as to, I think it was staffing levels. And the concern was the cost for that information. I find it really good in the report where the governance and management structure that the citizens of Western District put at the top, and the council, mayor and councillors the second, and then council controlled organisations third. I struggle in some cases to see where people applying for information have to pay large sums of money to do that. And I think that defeats the purpose of the Official Information Act. But I understand there can be sometimes vexatious applications by people that just want to waste people's time. And that must be, you know, understood. But in the same time, I think for public assurance, what I would like to see is an oversight committee formed where some councillors form a committee to look at some of these official information requests and make, you know, form an opinion or give some sort of advice to you, Barb, as to whether we think it's appropriate to get that information, because some of this information might cost quite a bit of money, but it could be really important to the community to show transparency for the council. And so that is the reason why I would like to see a bit of an oversight committee formed in the future sometime to look at that.
Through the chair, what I would assure you of is that the decision about the limits and the handle person is considered on the case by case. I always make sure that some case by case is always individually looked at. I don't charge lightly. In fact, I think that's probably the only time I know I take that. There's been one other opportunity where I said I put it up that actually for that amount of information we should charge. So that's 2 and 12 months, I think, which is what I would think is pretty conservative. It does rest with me in terms of the responsibility for what gets distributed, and I'm very careful with that. But that being said, I think it's really important that people have an opportunity to make requests, and we try to fill them as much as we can. But I also need to balance it against what's fair and reasonable from how we can do that. So whether or not an oversight committee would assist in that, I'm not sure, but it rests with me in terms of my responsibility for pushing that out. And I'm happy with that. But I do think that we should be assured it's not done lightly.
Thanks, Barb. Thank you, Greg. Kaupapa Party Network.
Just quickly on regarding Mr. Major Guy, with caution against the oversight committee on that, because it does blur the line between governance and management. I would rather trust management on that, but all you are saying is business. obviously. If I could move on to another query on board, 8.1, communication. Drive Trust Communications enables the monthly newsletter. Is this a contract?
Probably need to ask Di in terms of, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the dry house communication, that's such a net form.
Through you, Chair. So when we produce a monthly newsletter, there is some software that we use for that. And so Drycast Communications based in Nelson, I think, and they assist us with that. So that's a platform that we use to produce the monthly newsletter.
Okay, so.
Yeah, it's the
right, so
19th.
just
the 19th.
19th.
Yeah, the 19th. Yeah. I don't think in the past it is a contract, it's just a system we use.
No.
Well, it's definitely not a contract.
Thanks, thank you. And, sorry, I've got another update.
Just for that, again, mine's around on the corner stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can have an oversight group, but I think we can do that. Just check the roles. And the reason I know this is there's another council that's having a lot of issues, and it's all managed, it has to be managed by the staff. It can't come down to governance. I'll just double check, I don't think we can.
I think
now.
I think you are right. So I looked at it and it does sit and see. I mean, as the need.
Thank you. Councillor Maitland.
So through the chair, I suppose it would be an avenue for people, if they're not happy with that, to go to the ombudsman anyway.
Yes, they do have other pathways if they feel that they're, and often they will, even if they've been, even if they'll often do that, and then that's another opportunity.
Last question on the report, if it's okay. Oh, sorry, last few questions then. Whakaari Metric. Sorry.
10.8, the referring to the landfills, the leachate issue at Butler's. Is that linked to the odor problem that we had previously?
No, through the chair, no, it's not. Leachate problem we had and have now remediated there was there's a breach in the hole in the wall on the outflow. That didn't affect where the leachate went to. It just affected where it was mixing to go into the stream to go out to the lagoon. So that's been repaired. But the smell issue, that particular site has no gas field in it to gas extraction because it's so small. So you do end up getting extremely wet or extremely dry areas. We do get an odour issue out there, which we manage.
Well, when this was raised the last meeting, it was particularly bad. It was really, really, really bad. Yeah. Even with windows. So, okay, so keep an eye on that. The other one I wanted to raise on that was Hannah's Clearing. And I'm really pleased to see that common sense prevail on Hannah's Clearing, as opposed to the handicap idea of opened up to Butler's landfill at a cost of millions of dollars. This of bearing it excavating, bearing the passes is a sensible solution. Well done. If I make one more query, which was in the roading transportation update 11.1, and it's got the list there of the recent projects that are coming on. Can I just query again? I did query it last year sometime, and it wasn't very clear. Wells Street resettling. Is this the block between Champion and High Street that we raised last time of the asphalt?
So this, sorry, AC 3603.
Yes. Because some businessmen in that area had raised this and said that they would more than surprised that block, they've been told the contract, apparently, that was going to be, that was on the schedule. And that block between Tancred and Rebel Street, of course, looks perfectly fine.
The area is from, Sherbert Street to the clock out, to the clock, and that's gonna be asphalt, yep.
Right, which is broken down, so that makes sense. So there are two on Mill Street, so just to reassure these ratepayers, we can see that's not the block at all from Tancred to Rebel Street. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Councillor Nicholson, through the chair, just, I think tomorrow, because you asked for feedback about this. I can't read what's in the graphs, the bar charts about the eyesight, so if they can be improved.
Yeah, this was the improved one, I'm sorry. We did make a call, because I actually thought we should put them on one page and use a page of the report. In hindsight, that would have been easier. We did make them bigger, but they're not easy to read. In future, we'll make sure they're either on a page or they're not there.
Because the ones on page 22, or 23, are super like the planning consents.
Any more questions? No? Thank you, Barb. The report, a mover and a seconder, please, to resolve that the CE's quarterly report from the chief executive dated 12th December 2025 be received. Councillor Manera, Councillor Martin, thank you. Moving on, page 43, financial report. Stephen, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I'll take the report as read, but I just will pull out a couple of points and then obviously happy to take questions. So I don't have the page numbers of your report, I've only got my report, but looking at the statement of comprehensive revenue and expenditure, so it would be the fourth page of the financial report. Just to note that council's revenue for the month is pretty much on track and where we are for the year to date to the end of March, sorry, it's pretty much on track and where you expect it to be. Just on cost, I just wanted to pull out a couple of items. Employee costs are below budget, which was Barb indicated is due to staff vacancies, so we are currently under budget on employee costs. Pleased to see that the swap expenditure has continued to narrow. Some of that's something we've been reporting as being an issue. That number falls within other expenses. It's actually down now at 71,000. So it was 420 2 months ago, dropping to 162, and it's now at 71. I'm expecting it will continue to narrow as it goes on. So please report that. It looks like that's starting to ease. The other numbers within here, we've had increased electricity costs over the particular water treatment plant, which I know the teams are looking at and understanding of what's happening there. So that's something that we're looking into. And there was also additional costs for race resource consent, which again goes in with, if we look at fees and charges, number 4, fees and charges are up significantly. So we're at 265,000 additional revenue. So again, I think I've said in previous meetings, the same issue that we're experiencing more detailed and high volume consents that then generates additional revenue, but then we also incur additional costs to do them. But the revenue does outweigh the cost. So overall, the impact on the council is not negative. I also mentioned at the last council meeting that there was an error on depreciation materialized last period, which was of $500,000. It's currently now at 598. I've since investigated what this relates to, and it unfortunately relates to an error within budgeting that was done for the budgeting process for this financial year. The error will continue to increase because it's a monthly error within it. So as the year progresses, it will worsen. It will increase to $1 million by the end of the financial year. It's depreciation. It's not a cost, cash influence. I mean, I'm not trying to say it's okay, but it isn't a cash issue for the council. It's an accounting issue for the council. And just to explain, it probably is clear, but what's happened is that this basically means that we didn't budget to put enough money towards the reserves. We are still putting that money into the reserves, even though it wasn't within the budget, because that's how we set it up. So it's a budgeting error, which unfortunately has come to light now that we've started digging into the financials more. It will not impact the council significantly. Obviously, the full year forecast will be lower than the surplus will be lower than we expected. but due to capital program will be slightly lower this year as well, and we'll be coming back with the capital program report and updates in the financial year. So due to the fact that these reserves are used for the capital program, and because the capital program will be lower than we expected, it won't adversely affect council. So which I'm not happy that this has come up, and it's part of our review. So in a way, it's good we've located it now. But I just really wanted to bring that to attention. So, the only other point I just wanted to make was just on grants and funding. So that's kind of been outstanding for a while now for us. But we received another $500,000 towards the Hook Tika Airport projects after this report was published. So again, sorry about that. I'll make sure that the page was next time, but we were showing 1.1 million outstanding on grants and now 600 on grants. That money is starting to flow through now. Any questions?
Stephen, questions firstly, while we're talking about grants outstanding, the final claim for the swimming pool that's nearly 12 months outstanding. Is there an issue there? Well, obviously there is.
The issue is there's no objection to it. It's literally just getting them to pay the money. It's just painful. So, so we queried as to whether or not there are any issues with the submission. If there's any issues with the report, it's not. So, take the point it's been going on for a long time now. So, yeah, we will push on with them again.
Thank you for that clarification. Any further questions? None. None. Wonderful. Looking for a mover and seconder. That was the financial report. The 31st of December, not received. Councillor McKenzie, seconded. Councillor Munns, thank you. Next item on the agenda, page 59, the councillor allowances paper. Stephen.
Thank you again. So this report is more along administrative purposes. So presumably I'll take as read that you've read the report, but just a bit of background that the council's allowances are set by the Remuneration Authority, which is the same body that sets the councillors and the mayor and deputy mayor's remuneration. So this is outside the control of the council. We do feed into it as do all councils, but it's not set by the council itself. This policy was in place and actually lapsed in June this year. So we had new triennium coming in, and during that process, several of the policies expired, and this unfortunately was one of them. We'd like to point out that because we knew the changes were coming through, that all expenses in relation to elected members have been paid at the correct rates. So they were paid at the rates that were advised by the Remuneration Authority. So this report basically is now just trying to get council to accept the policy and to accept the changes to the expenditure, which is contained in Appendix 1. I'd just like to point out that the report is kind of a standard report, so the way it's been set up is the report doesn't really, so the policy doesn't really change, it's just that the Appendix 1 will change, and that will be updated every year once the Remuneration Commission makes its findings. Any questions?
Questions? Stephen, no? No questions? We're looking for a mover and a seconder to resolve that one, the report be received, and that two, council adopt the elected members allowance policy. Councillor Manera, Councillor Munns, thank you. Okay. Next agenda item, local governance statement, page 70 on your agenda. The chief executive to speak to this report, please.
I think it's fairly straightforward. It's another part of the administration process through the new triennium. We should adopt the local or have the local governance arrangements that's publicly available. The last or our current one up to today has been accepted from December 22. So clearly there were quite a few changes that needed to be made coming into the new triennium in terms of our structure and a lot of the bits and things that needed to be tidied up. So this now reflects the current structure we've got within the council, etc. It's all been updated with the names, etc. So it's really just been a tidy up of the governance.
Thanks, Barb, and all those changes were highlighted there as easy to see. Any questions? Councillor McKenzie.
Yeah, read this.
Yeah.
So Before we move to approving this, I kind of just wanted to be clear about what this document is and what it isn't. So the local government statement does a good job of explaining how the council operates, our role, structure, committees and statutory processes. And in that sense, it's compliant and well put together. What I can't see, however, is a clear articulation of direction and priorities for this triennium. Anything that the councillors or ratepayers could reasonably understand as to what this council, led by the mayor, is committing to focus on in the next 3 years. So my concern isn't about the compliance, it's about transparency and accountability. We're being asked to approve a document within 6 months of the election, updates the machinery of the governance, but doesn't clearly state what we're actually committing to deliver. That leaves councillors approving a forum without substance and ratepayers none the wiser about what mandate is being exercised. So my question is simply this: are we comfortable approving local government statement for this triennium that explains how we govern, but not what we're committing to do? Or should we be asking for that direction to be explicitly articulated for the benefit of the councillors and ratepayers before we start signing it off?
So I can clarify on that, Councillor McKenzie. I think the local governance statement does exactly what it needs to do. I think those delivery tools are the LTP and annual plan, where everything that we aspire to do goes into that plan, and is clearly that's the doing part of it, what we're doing and delivering. So there's two separate units. So I think that we would agree about.
Yes, and just to remind folk that we've got the refreshed annual plan process starting now, folks, so that will give a better definition. I agree with the Deputy Mayor that this document performs exactly as you've described it. It is that shows the mechanics, but the actual what needs to be done is held within those two documents. The overarching long-term plan, which will be refreshed again in, I think it's 14 months now, because it's a funny time frame. And then the annual plan, which has started to be refreshed now, more reflective. And I would wonder whether or not from that, if you wanted a more prioritised work program, that you would attach that as part of your council documents in terms of that, rather. But those are your formalised documents for what's to be done, and it's been agreed and audited.
Yeah, as long as the ratepayers know, what we're going to be doing in the next 3 years.
There was a question for through the chair, to us at the council about what was our work program looking forward. We would direct people to the long-term plan as an overarching document, which is fairly broad, but it does cover the major areas of work that could be done. But we would also be encouraging them to look at our annual plan to see what is the work we would be doing as a council. Is that what you were reading?
Yeah.
Thanks. Metric.
So what Councillor McKenzie is highlighted is the gap between the council, the LTP and the race. We face this every time with the LTP, is try to get people to understand that this is the opportunity to input. Somehow we've got to do it differently, to engage more and encourage more engagement, so that people aren't unaware that that's the opportunity, that's the prime opportunity to have a say in what's going on in the future in the next 3 years plus for the council. And yeah, we just got to lift our game somehow and do it differently to have a better engagement.
I totally agree. I think the long-term plan is an incredibly good document, but it just doesn't seem to resonate in its current form. I think, with all due respect to the people that did submissions for the last consultation, and there was some very measured and thoughtful submissions. Those people really came prepared. What was our total? 33? 33 submissions. It's a huge, and I suppose it's one of those things that how do you bring people to the conversation, and we need to do better. So I totally agree. We need to do more to get that through.
Through the chair, so just a Councillor Mackenzie's comments. So there are council workshops coming up beginning of February, and a second one, and then once council has reached an agreement also on the draft annual plan, which is difficult because it is obviously governed by the LTP, but there is still a process we can look at what the priorities are for the coming financial year while we're still within LTP constraints, and then I just go out to public hearing as well, which will happen after April. There are workshops coming over too.
Thank you, Stephen. Any other questions? Right. Looking for a mover and a seconder to resolve that the report be received and that council adopts the amended local governance statement and publishes it on the council's website. So here, Councillor Walker, thank you. Next agenda item, page 106 on your agenda, Easter Sunday trading policy. I'd ask Lee to speak to the report.
Thank you. I'll take the report as read, but I'll just do a brief overview just in relation to the context of this. And so, under the Shop Trading Hours Act 1990, there are 3.5 sacrosanct days. So 3.5 days that a number of businesses cannot trade legally. Although the enforcement of this is undertaken by MB, it's not undertaken by council as a statutory function from that point of view. That legislation was amended a few years ago to enable councils to have a policy to allow trading on Easter Sunday only, not for the other 2.5 sacrosanct days, which is Anzac Day morning and Good Friday and Christmas Day. And we as a council had a policy previously back in 2018. Unfortunately, that through the statutory process was not reviewed within the timeframe, so that expired in 2024. What I'm proposing here, my recommendation is that we re-enable that and that we have a policy that does allow through the whole of our district trading on Sunday. Our policy does require this special consultative procedure, which means we do need to go out and consult. And so on the last page of the report, it's about 115, page 115, I've outlined a very brief process as to what I'm looking at to ensure that, subject to what our community says in relation to the proposal, and subject to you adopting such policy, that we would have it in place for this coming Easter. To take any questions?
Any questions relating to the bylaw?
The chair, obviously you're just coming into the role and nice work on getting on top of these things. Seems like we've missed a few deadlines. We're putting sort of systems in place that we shall miss them again because they take up resources and time and energy and whatnot.
Absolutely, yeah. And through the chair to answer that, yes, unfortunately, is the answer. And there are a number of either bylaws or policies that we would have wanted to be more on top of. And we've certainly got a program in place. And so, as I said, I think on the first time that I spoke with yourselves, you'll see me updating and refreshing a number of those to make sure that we're back on track, but also then through the different pieces of work that you're committed to through the LTP, to the previous conversation, is so for argument's sake, the alcohol restrictions bylaw, which was the last council meeting that I spoke to you about. That will be coming back to you shortly. If we need to change anything in relation to that in the future, we'll make sure we've got a program in place for that, for a refresher, to be sure that it happens way before deadlines, basically, or the timeframes that are permitted through statutes. So
Councillor Mackenzie?
Reading your report, the only thing I can think of is the topics that we've got here, is to give employers enough time to engage with staff to make sure they can work on Sunday if we're going to go for Sunday. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And through the chair, in response to that, so what this policy enables is the conversation to take place. And so there may be a number of employers that might want to open, but their staff don't want to work. And legally, employers can't make their staff work from that perspective. But us going through the special consultative procedure enables businesses and employers to be aware that this is taking place. And so if they support it, great. I would ask they submit in relation to that. or if they don't and have a contrary view, also that as well, but also that there's an awareness of that, so they can start to implement or put the measures in place to enable that piece to something.
Thank you. Any further questions? No, thank you. Looking for a mover and a second, resolve that the report be received and that the council approves the draft Easter Sunday shop trading policy 2026 as proposed, attached as Appendix 1, consultation, and that council considers any submissions received following the public consultation period. Councillor Walker. Seconded. Councillor Munns, thank you. Next agenda item, Cass Square Half Basketball Court, page 116 on your agenda. I'll pass over to you.
Thank you. So, just apologies, this paper has come to you as if it was for an approval when in fact it should be a noting. Because this has all been, the Cass Half Square half court basketball court, and that was approved 20,000 process. Now, what we've seen is actually a milestone. The fundraising has occurred. They've been able to raise a significant amount of money, actually $88,000 is a lot of money for this purpose, and it's just advising that that has been reached. And we had to bring the money forward from the last year because in terms of a timing, it couldn't be done. So this is a noting paper really, to say to you folk, this is where we're up to. It reads as an approval process, but the approvals have already been provided through the LTP process and through the NLP process as well. So sorry, that's just a bit of background. I know it's a bit confusing because people will have looked at it. And David and Kate are both here who've been championing this through the process. So happy if there's any questions that we might want to direct to them.
Right, questions, anybody?
Thank you. Not a question. It's just a congratulations to the Basketball Association. When they first came to us with this proposal several years ago, the expectation was that the council was going to council push back on it and said, help yourselves and we'll come along and help as well, which is exactly what they've done. And congratulations. It's really good. A good result. Just one on just to clarify, because I think there may be some misconceptions from some who have already seen this proposal, and on behalf of my friend here, the Robbie Glen statue is outside of this, isn't it? It's close, but it's not that close. But it's affected at all.
No, it won't be affected. It's about, I would say, 7 or 8 meters away. It's not going to be affected. We're going to just slope that area because it's a bit rough and there's a slope to it, so we just flatten it around it, but the statue won't be affected.
Okay. Just want to clarify that so it's out there. The Robbie Glens is safe.
Why not the basketball business?
Thank you, Councillor McKenzie.
We were really in Scotland, she'd have a crew instead.
Ah.
But anyway, Barb, through the chair, Barb has given us background that this isn't a voting thing or whatever, but I kind of felt reading it that it only provides half the picture in that it gives us the cost of implementing and constructing this, but it doesn't tell us what the ongoing future costs are going to be for this asset and how that's going to impact the ratepayers down the line. Has any of that been projected? And when we do these capital projects, can that be introduced into these reports so that we have the full picture?
I would expect that it was in the original report that came through, because you would expect to know what the ongoing costs are going to be for that. And I think the reason why it wasn't in this was because it did more of a current status update going forward. So, but happy if those folk that were here.
The only maintenance that it will be required is the rope on the hoop and some painting not within 3 years from construction. So there's not a lot of maintenance that would be done. A concrete lifespan should last over 10 years. So maintenance will be to the minimum. and that would be for council's account.
Chair, how's it managed? Is it the basketball association that will manage it, or the council?
That is part of the council, it becomes council's asset. So it gets managed within the Casque reserve, so that's part of the reserve.
So people can book it, you know, if they want to have competitions and things like that. Is that how it's going to work?
Well, I'm not sure.
Through the chair, it's open to the public.
Yeah, it's open.
Yeah. So it's, anyone can use it at any time. It's not a bookable facility, it's only a half court, so it's basically a playground, piece of playground equipment.
So you can form a team at any time.
Well, that kind of leads me on to a general business issue, because this obviously came out prior to this new triennium. So I think it would be really useful for these reports to have hyperlinks in them to lead us back to teams so that we can read up on this and not have to ask them questions like I was asked.
Good point. Yeah, we're trying to do that with the maintenance, but good point. I don't think there'll be too many more that will come back through this whole thing. It's not many more.
But even future proofing that in 3 years' time, that we're discussing stuff that people down the line will need to refer back to.
Yeah, I think congratulations getting this over the line. I think it's important that we have some community facilities for our teams. So that's positive. I do think we're gonna get questions on the street about how it's the 20K even is getting paid. Do we have any details? And apologies, this could be, I've already been discussed when it was first approved, but is this a ring fenced, is this just the Toftiga Township is paying for this, or 20K? Was it all of Westland, or?
The council.
So, sorry, through the chair, so if it's, because it's now part of, sorry, what's the name of the square, I'm terribly. Thank you, Cas Square, sorry, apologies. There is a ring fence council created reserve, so yeah, it's ring fencing.
And I think there's a good model here, because obviously we've got to start tightening the belt, cost of living, all the big infrastructure projects coming up. So I think this partnership between council and community groups is the way forward. And 20K, you know, is a small amount, and the rest has been fundraised, which is amazing. But, you know, there might even be opportunities just to, in the future, just to even have less council funding. But is there ways to just like cut the red tape a little bit and say, hey, we can't contribute financially, but we will cut, say, consenting fees or planning fees as our contribution, as opposed to cash contributions?
Through the chair, there's probably a lot of work we go on this, and we do talk about it and talk with the best result is where we can talk to the people that are doing the applications early, so that we can have a conversation about how does this work, and look, all those things are well outside our realm, but we could direct you to somewhere, or there have been opportunities where we've seen funding streams come, or, you know, grants, and we've directed people to there to get money and things. We try and do that as much as possible, because that works both ways.
Yeah.
So it's useful.
This will be the last sort of sporting community request that
We will
comes.
see LTV.
Yeah.
Start again, and you'll see.
Yeah.
Another month, things will come through, and we'll have to try and talk them through.
And through the chair, yes, the CEO is correct. We work quite proactively with community groups to help them find funding streams, and we also, you know, if there's some council funding available, or they can make applications, or, you know, so it's quite a one-on-one communicating process that we go through.
Yeah, councillor Walker, just following up with that, I think that is exactly how this all started. Don Hunts from the Basketball Association presented to council on 14th June 2022, and as part of the LTP process, they put a presentation to us for council to consider, and we told them we'll went into the LTP consultation as a project, and it was a project of council contributing a share and then contributing a share, and it's snowballed from a 20K project to a $88,000 project. So it's over the last 4 years. So incredible working relationship I have with council and the community group, and similar to what we did with the Casque playground, where we worked, council had reserves funding to replace the playground. We've managed to double that by applying to lotteries and then added on to that with community group fundraising. So great, those relationships are in place, and we do try on some of those community capital projects, I think, to extract money from where we possibly can. And I know that's a huge benefit for the staff that are managing those relationships. So well done to the staff, well done to the Basketball Association for getting behind this, and all the businesses listed there that have contributed. I think that's incredible. So well done.
I really need to do more of this. I know, no offense, Paul's not gonna like me saying this, but should be stuffed the bloody museum. We should be funding a whole lot of schools. Kids here get all sorts of shit going. Hey, that thing sits around the road, you catch water. You fund hundreds of thousands.
Okay.
Sorry, mate.
Thanks for the comments. I've got a hope tomorrow and
To the chair.
any more questions? Councillor Martin,
Just
sorry.
a possible error, correct me if I'm wrong, but there would say that when the fencing on the Well and Hampton Street faces. So, 2 streets apart.
Well done, Britain, I would assume that should be. Correct. Thank you. Councillor Gillett.
Yes, through your worship. Hey, just a procedural query for today's meeting. I just note that we have considered various reports today, moved and seconded, but we actually haven't voted on them. So I just want a clarity. My assumption is we should have canvassed for a vote.
We probably should have, sorry. That's a failing on my part.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everything is ratified correctly today.
Yep, not a problem. We'll get this one through and do that, and then we can retrospectively go back and make sure that they're all okay.
Cool.
Sorry, thank you for that.
No problem. The chair's doing a wonderful job today.
Can I just, through the chair, can I just formally thank David and Kate for the work that they've done? They've been really at the forefront of this one for some time, so that's really good and really good work. So thank you very much for listening to those.
Great, thanks, Barb. Okay, on that note, looking for a mover and a seconder and resolve that the report be received. Thank you, Councillor Walker and Councillor Maitland. All those in favour? Against? Carried, thank you. We'll just work back, sorry about that, back to the start. First one was the CE's report. All in favour of that one? Anyone against? No, carried. Financial report, all in favour? Against? Thank you. Councillor allowances, all in favour? Against? Thank you, carried. Local governance statement, all in favour? Against? Carried, thank you. Easter Sunday trading policy, all in favour? Against? Carried, thank you. That is it. Wonderful. Thank you. I now require a mover and a seconder to resolve the council move into the public excluded section of the meeting at 2:24 p.m. Sorry, Councillor Munns, Councillor Martin. We now need to adjourn the meeting for 2 minutes and allow council to disconnect from the Zoom, from the open section of the meeting and reconnect via the second Zoom invite to the public excluded section.